Here with Josh the Kid Nelson, 1-0 with 1 KO, man. How does that sound? How's that feel?
You know, it's kind of surreal. You know, I feel like as a little kid, you know, growing up, and it's something that I would be so proud of. You know, like first off, like looking at my physique, you know, I'm pretty strong, shredded, and then you know, doing some cool shit. Like little me would be like, "What? You're a professional boxer, 1-0?" Like, it's awesome. It's a good feeling.
No, that's great, man. What's it called? So definitely, you're making yourself proud. So there's no better feeling than that, right?
Definitely.
So, but what would you say were the biggest differences from preparation from an amateur fight to the pros?
I would say the biggest difference was, you know, morning and nights. You know, I was training every morning and every night, 5 to 6 times a week. And as an amateur, it was more, you know, show up in the afternoon, do the class, and make sure you're running outside of the gym, you know. And as a professional, you know, I have to get my miles in, strength and conditioning, boxing training every day. So it's like 3 workouts a day, and I would say that's the biggest difference, you know. And I think the mental preparation and staying like calm and relaxed. You know, I feel like as an amateur I was so tense and anxious, but as a professional, you know, with my mindset, it's just calm and relaxed, you know.
Yeah, what about the cut and weight part of it? Talk to us about that a little bit.
Well, as an amateur, when I was first starting out, I was you know, using the sauna suit, getting in the sauna and doing hot baths and sweating my ass off, you know. And that's something that I got to the point where I was like, I'm not doing that no more. I don't want to drain myself like that. And so as a professional, going into my first professional fight, it was about 2 months of cutting. I started actually at like 157. 157, I made it down to 135.6. But my diet changed drastically. It was 3 meals a day and 2 snacks, and I had to spread out the meals accordingly, and I had to eat clean. I had no bread, no tortillas. You know, only carbs I had was rice and potatoes, and so I just cutting my weight. It was generally. I had energy, you know, I had energy to train hard, but just wasn't able to like indulge, you know, because I didn't want to cut all that water weight. That shit sucks.
So you were definitely a little restrictive on the diet, to say the least.
Definitely.
And then in the fight, how'd you feel about, you know, smaller gloves? I think in the amateurs you guys wear what, 10 ounces, and in the pros it's 8, and then no headgear.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like it felt a lot more natural, you know. It felt like my hands were just quick, you know. It was quick, and then without the headgear on, it felt like I had a bigger, like I was just more aware. I was a lot more aware. And the punches, I honestly, I didn't get to experience enough, like very many punches, you know. I think I got hit twice up top, it was a little, you know, I didn't get to experience the punches enough to really tell what the difference is, but I also did feel a pretty solid body shot, and you know, just quick hands. Just.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, it doesn't even, from my view, it doesn't even look like you were in a fight. So no, that's good, man. Did the pace, and going back on what you were saying, the punches, the power surprise you at all?
Well, the pace, I felt like I started the pace off. You know, I felt like I was in control of the pace, and with the punching power, you know, I didn't get to experience it. You know, I got him out of there quick, and was very solid. I was I was sharp. You know, so I was able to catch his punches. He hit me with a nice straight cross, but it was just a little flash. You know, I wasn't. Like when I got hit, it was more of like I was upset that I got hit, not you know, affected by the power.
Speaking of getting him out of there quick, he was a southpaw. Do you think part of it was it because it looked like from ringside where I was sitting, it looked like you took control of the footing position pretty quick or right off the bat? Do you think that was a good way the reason why you were able to get him out of there quick?
Well, sparring and preparing for the fight, I went against Tito Miguel Elizondo, and he's a solid southpaw fighter. So, I was prepared to go against a southpaw fighter. And also, I was sparring with Christian Avalos, who's an orthodox fighter, and Harley Sampson, another orthodox fighter. So, honestly, I feel like I was prepared for any sort of style. I was prepared to fight for my life, but also had enough experience in training camp to be prepared against a southpaw or an orthodox.
So you didn't know he was coming orthodox. You didn't know he was coming southpaw then?
No, I didn't. Actually, on his box rec, it says he's an orthodox.
So did you know anything about your opponent leading up to the fight?
I knew that he was coming from Colorado Springs. I seen his last fight in the amateurs. He fought in the Golden Gloves, and he had 20 fights as an amateur. But that's really all I knew. And he's a little taller than me, but standing side to side, facing off with him, you could tell, like just the solid muscle compared to, it's just a different. That's all it is.
No, I hear you. Shout out to Christian Avalos and Tito Elizondo and your third sparring partner,
Harley Sampson.
Harley Sampson, that helped you out. How did you feel about the KO?
It was, when I was in there and I hit him with that first shot that rocked him, and I seen it, I was just, the biggest thing in my mind was just staying calm, staying calm and in control. And I told myself leading up to the fight, staying, as long as I'm calm and in control, I'm going to dominate. And, I hit him, he lost his footing, and I was just calm, I was prepared, I was ready, and I wasn't rushing. So I felt like, it didn't really, I wasn't super surprised when I rocked him. I was more like processing it, trying to stay calm, relax, and process what's going on. And after getting him out of there, I was super hyped. I felt like I was so calm, but I felt like I needed to be hyped, So I would say it was a bit underwhelming because I was prepared to fight for my life, and I got him out of there quick. But I think that's a good way to start the career. Get him out of there quick, stay strong and healthy, and on to the next.
Yeah, 100%, man. I didn't even get to ask you how it felt to go 4 instead of 3, because you got him out of there so quickly. Is that how you pictured the fight going?
Honestly, leading up to the fight, I had a lot of people, who were very reassuring, and it made me, I did have a lot of confidence that I was going to get him out of there. I thought, I was predicting the second round, personally, but I didn't think it was going to be that quick, No,
I hear you, man. Yeah, it's funny that you say, that you felt like you needed it to be excited for the knockout. So, it seems like it was just another day in the office for you, man.
Yes, sir.
So let's rewind a little bit, man. How did the walkout and just receiving that ovation feel?
It was surreal, It was. I was just soaking it all in, and I felt all the support. I felt the love, and it felt like it was my moment. I was when I was walking out, I couldn't stop smiling. There's tears in my eyes, and I was just ready to go. It was go time. All the work's been done. Now it's just time to show everyone.
Lights, camera, action, right?
Yep, exactly.
So closing out now, Josh, is there, the floor is yours, a message or just anything you want to say that I didn't get to ask?
I would say that along this journey, I've had a lot of help. I've had a lot of people support me. And if there's anyone that is listening to this and who has the ability to help, there's that one person in your mind that you're thinking about that you would like to help out, or maybe someone who asked you, or someone who's trying to run a business, start a business, please give some support if you are capable of giving someone some support. I think that's the biggest thing that we could ask for in this life is support from the people around us, and that's what's got the support from my people is what has got me here today. So just I encourage you guys to support the people around you. That's it.
We appreciate the time. Josh Nelson, 1-0 with a lot more to come.
Yes, sir.